Hey y'all,
Hi.
Hi.
we're back together, reunited, and it feels so good.
So good.
I'm super excited. I'm still super excited about Sandra's haircut. I can just stare at it.
It's
I'm
really
happy
good.
to have you be my focus for the rest of the video.
Happy to ground you.
Like it must feel so good, Sandra, to have like such a good haircut that people are like, "Oh my god, is it your haircut?"
It does. It really does. As a Libra, I have to say it's everything I would want, both for a haircut for myself and for others.
Yes.
Mhm.
It's
That's right.
it's a gift for everyone, really.
I
That's
try
right.
to be generous, but really I have to give credit to my hair person, Mitzi, who's also Filipino. So, she does this while we talk about like food and how much we love our grandmas and our complicated relationship with our mothers. And then this happens. So shout out to Mitzi.
That's the magic. That's the magic.
I owe it all to you, Mitzi.
So how was y'all week otherwise?
It's a lot.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah. I went to LA
Okay.
for 3 days. And I went to Fixin's, which is in LA Live, a soul food restaurant.
Okay.
And yeah, it will fix your life.
Okay.
The
I was
hour,
gonna ask, was it good?
the hour and a half that you're there eating, your life is fixed. And then you move on. But it was great.
There you go.
That sounds amazing. Oh, I wish
So
I had
good.
that.
I'm like hungry now.
I was about to say, damn, I should have eaten before this. I hope I don't get too hangry.
I ventured outside this week, and if you know me, you know that's big.
I saw you on Facebook at the lake.
I know. It was so beautiful. Lake Merritt, if you don't live in Oakland, just like a magical place. And it was like I was just like in my whole bag. I was in my facilitation, my like let's dream together while we're outside. So I'm doing this project called New Black City, which is really about like building out the city of our dreams with like participatory democracy, just like all my bullshit. You know what I mean? It was so good. It was so fun because we had like a core group of people who were there, but then people like were hearing what was happening and they were like, what's going on here? So we like picked up participants along the way. People were like skating by us. Some dude I was like obsessed with was like skating backwards. I was like, oh, you're so cool. It was so lively. The sun is really, really healing. And it was like good prep because I basically was on vacation all last week. And then I'm going to be back traveling next week and going forward. And I'm very nervous about that. So
same. Yes. I would feel like a lot of my week was just like managing my trip anxiety for a trip that's not even happening until next week. Not this coming week, but the week after. And I used to be just like all over the place all the time, like in a different time zone every 5 days. And now I'm like, I have to go to Denver.
Mountain time?
I have to go to mountain time. But I am really excited. I'm really excited. And I've also been being with people more in, of course, safe and, ways that mind public health. But yeah, I went to my acting class this weekend and it was just fun to be with people who just are wanting to have a creative outlet and mostly just goofing around together. So it's nice to be with people.
I'm ready. The role of Nicholas Cassidy will be played by Sandra as well. I'm ready.
I did think about Marcus once in the acting class because my teacher was talking about the Meryl Streep quote, you can measure good acting by thoughts per minute, and how like thinking is one of the actions that you do as an actor, and how especially on the camera picks up your thoughts. And he was like, like when you're ever watching someone who's not very good and you just think, God, there's nothing going on up there, it's because they're not thinking. And I was like, I have seen that before. Yes.
Oh my God, I love that we started with market slander. Just a perfect way to start. My God. Are y'all ready? I know we have a pretty full episode to talk about all the things. Y'all ready for the recap?
Please.
Okay, so please note that I did this a little high off of allergy meds. So we'll see what happens.
Oh,
I might be as surprised as you.
That makes me really excited.
So this is what I wrote. I can't remember the last week we had 5 episodes of GH, and this is not an exception. Because of preemption, Port Charles is still on the 4th of July. We start the week with Dante and Sam looking cute by the Metro Court pool. We find out that Drew was at the fair with Danny, Scout, and Rocco, which I thought was a very cute, like, co-parenting touch. Of course, Sante can't have alone time without Dante's horse friend interrupting. They eventually ditch him to watch the fireworks alone. So no on-screen sexy time for Sante, but on-screen cuddles. Maxie and Austin have a picnic in the park with Britt because no one else showed up. Thanks. Austin gets a shady call, and really, y'all, there isn't much I care less about than maybe Dante's horse friend who runs into Britt at the pool when she leaves. Somehow she agrees to a date with him. And I guess dating is really tough in real life and in Port Charles because there is really no way she should have agreed to that. Sonny has a run-in with Spencer and asks him what the hell he is doing with Esme. Spencer tells Sonny he is trying to be better and that he wouldn't disappoint him. Sonny looks like he has a moment to be like, what you got going on, Spencer? As Sonny continues to make his way around town, he heads to the hospital to visit Brando and Sasha. Sasha is not up for visitors, but we do find out that she's headed to rehab. Plus, Brando and Dex, so OG Dex and Dex bond over being in the military. Trina is feeling the pressure of her upcoming trial. Rory comes up to her and Joss basically pushes her bestie away to spend time with him. They go to the park and watch fireworks where they share some basic brownies and kiss 4 times, all according to Trina. Spencer, of course, witnesses one of those times, one of those kisses, and the love triangle continues. Willow tells Carly that she's pregnant, and Olivia tells everyone who didn't already know that Carly sold her half of the Metro Court. And Nina's latest single white female move, shout out to anyone old enough to catch that reference, Nina buys Carly's half of the Metro Court. She says she did it as a peace offering to Carly, who turns it down. Olivia offers to buy it from Nina for what she spent plus 5%, but Nina says no because she wants to keep it now. Sonny finds out and it leads to Sona drama, apparently. They told me Sona was rising, but it seems to me Sona is down bad. Valentine saves Laura's life, this time from a sniper. He reminds Victor how complicated it was to cover up Luke's murder and tries to get more information out of him about what's going on. In order to get Laura out of town, Valentine sets her mother's house on fire. But Valentine is redeemed, so no one was home. Most of the rest of the week focused on Spencer's plan / Trina's trial. Spencer has a run-in with Rory at the hospital while he picks up his DNA results. Curtis and Hat Daddy track the bartender with the burner phone and spook him. The bartender heads to Windermere to cover his tracks and do a little blackmailing. Ava nearly catches him, but an ill-timed call from Avery lets the bartender escape. Ava offers Esme money to admit that she filmed Joss and Cam, but Esme refused. Finally, we find out that Diane is Trina's attorney now. Whew, thank God. Trina tells Joss about her Spencer alibi, but she asks Joss to keep it a secret for now, which Joss only moderately agrees to. Portia and Stella talk about the realities of Trina being a Black girl about to face the criminal justice system. A conversation, a long time coming, but handled very well between these two actors. And I know that we will dive into that. And that is our week. What did y'all think about the week? Favorite moments, etc., etc.
This was a better week. Things happened. Storyline has progressed. Focus on things and people that I care about. Good performances. Balanced out a lot of the things that I do not like, although those, of course, are always present on this show. My favorite moments, I mean, Jilla Spencer, you know, I think there was a missed opportunity to not focus on his face longer. I had a complaint about the direction there, because I was like, I wanted a long, lingering close-up on his misery. And I feel like I just got a fleeting moment, but I'm happy that it happened. The brownies seem fine to me, but who am I?
Trina called them basic. I was just repeating.
You know, they seemed fine enough. I wasn't expecting great brownies from him. But no, I appreciated the love triangle of it all. I also loved Sante, and they're like sneaky, they're running off together. And my favorite was that Dante both left his phone on the table, like he left his phone at the Metro Court, and he didn't even put his shoes on. He ran out there with shoes in hand, phone left behind, and was like, I gotta go to Bae's house. We are gonna watch some fireworks together. And I just like giggled the whole time. I was like, Sante. Oh, I love them. And then of course, Portia and Stella, for all the reasons which we will talk about very soon.
Yeah, Sam's skirt was super cute. And their banter was super romantic. Like, oh, I have the best view in my room. And he's like, I know.
He's like, oh, the view.
And then he was looking at her like she was the view that he was looking forward to, and not necessarily the fireworks. And I thought it was super cute, like when they were cuddling on the bed and he started kissing her and she was like, oh, look, fireworks. That was like so funny. Like, he's like, no, I want sex. She's like, no, I want fireworks. No, it was super cute, and I enjoyed them a lot. Some of my favorite storylines I enjoyed, and maybe I'm mixing my weeks up because you guys kind of ground me on my Sundays, but and so if it was last week, you guys bear with me. I like seeing Anna and Victor, like Victor trying to find out what Anna is up to, and she just investigating what's happening. I enjoyed that. I'm enjoying the storyline now that we know what Valentine is up to and why he's doing what he's doing. He's basically being blackmailed by his dad over Charlotte, and I love seeing his conflict and, you know, wanting to keep Charlotte safe but not necessarily wanting to murder Laura. And I'm not quite sure exactly what Victor's end goal is, but right for now he wants to get rid of Laura because, you know, Laura's trying to get rid of him, but he's taking it to the next level. But I'm enjoying the conflict and Valentine doing everything he can to keep her safe. I think it's funny that he does like these outrageous things and she's just like, what are you doing? Like throwing the drink in her face and pushing her out of the way. I mean, it's hilarious to see how sloppy he is and trying to keep her safe. It's funny because he's like, it's almost like he okay, maybe I'll let this go through. Maybe I'll let this go through. And I'm not sure what the trigger is, but he changes his mind and then, you know, steps in to save her life. So I think that is very intriguing. I love that storyline. Ava and Esme.
Woo!
I mean, both powerhouse actresses. Oh my God. Just seeing them together. And I enjoyed Ava having the same complaint about Esme painting her toenails on the couch as Laura. I mean, I was like, that's like so interesting to me. Like, she annoys people on all levels with that nail polish. I was like, and it's not something I would ever think to do, paint my nails on the couch.
No.
But I mean, yeah, it's not something I would think to do. But the fact that it's just like the ultimate insult to my apartment is so funny to me. But all the things, all the conversation that they had, even though it wasn't long enough in my book, I would love to have them just be stuck in a room. But it probably would make it less intriguing because we only get to see these snippets and they're just powerful every time. Favorite. And yeah, Portia. But again, we'll talk about that later. But those are some of my favorite scenes.
Yeah. I think that the point of like things like moving a little bit more smoothly this week really can't be overstated that it was 2 women writers on Thursday and Friday. Those episodes, like, that makes a huge difference and we can see it right in front of us. Imagine that. But I just really loved, like, y'all pointed out some of the small moments. I hate Esme. I need to go on record 50,000 times to say I hate Esme. But Avery cracks me up. That when Sunny walked up on her and she genuinely tried to look scared.
Like, oh my God!
I chuckled so much because it was so dramatic for no reason, but I loved it. I loved like the Spencer Rory confrontation and like how Spencer was. Like, it was just, it cracked me up the whole time. Like, when he does his like arm movements, when he does like his faces, his hand, like he just like embodies this jealousy that's like so consistent throughout that I really, really love. I loved like small moment with Joss when they were like, when Diane was like, nobody's gonna be rolling their eyes, nobody's gonna be, and she just like could not help herself. When she like talked about Sunny, she's like, Diane's defended Sunny and he's been guilty every time. And Laura was like, chill out. And Joss was like, what? It's just like constantly proving Spencer's point that like, girl, that's what I didn't tell you. Okay, because you don't know how to act. And I love it because I also don't know how to act. You know what I mean? Like 18-year-old me was Joss. Like, I would love to believe that I was Trina at 18 and 19. I was 100% Joss at 18 and 19. And so just like those like little acting moments that make the story move along, I think have been a lot of my favorites to like watch people really embody their characters. And then finally, obviously, Sante. I just love Sante's like love. It is like this natural progression. They're so solid. I was like, this is a soap, but I just want y'all to be like happy and stable because like they are such a grounding couple. When everyone else is in chaos, like Sante is like booed up, sending Drew to be the babysitter, like, which really, really tickled me. Like, and Sam looked fabulous. I do have a note. I said, Sam, you look gorgeous, girl. Your man is hot. But it's the day before Trina's trial. What are you doing?
Where's that nanny?
Where's the nanny at?
Nanny.
But aside from that, I do. I have grown. I'm continuing to grow to really like Sante, and just like the adultness that they embody, and like the way that they're able to be like our grounding couple on the show. They're very, very cute, and I really enjoyed them. Let's move to. Oh, go ahead.
How consistent all of us in our energy about anyone who's supposed to be working on Trina's case. We're like, okay, that's cute, but what are you doing for Trina?
Right.
Oh, you know who else's energy I really appreciated this week? Hat Daddy. Like that now that they don't have him talking in circles, his like when they asked him if he was a cop, me? Like it was just when Ava was like leaving to go to Windermere, he was so tickled. Like I've just really enjoyed his performances now that they've allowed him to stop talking in circles.
Oh yeah, because
You know?
Ava just like they were like, we had something that you could do for Trina. And she was like, sure, okay, what are we doing? And he was like, you don't want to know what it is? And she was like, I don't need to know anything else. And he was like, this white lady's
she's good.
good.
Or when Curtis was like, how are you so calm? He was like, antipsychotics. And I was like, same. Like, you know, like, I get it. But Tanya, take us into performances of the week.
Okay, so as you know, I like to award performances that bring out an emotion in me, and I'm so glad that you guys last week honored Sophia Matson, because oh my god, last week she just made me cry so bad. And this week I had the same kind of reaction with Brooke Kerr and Bernie Watson when they were on the couch talking, or not on the couch, they were in the living room just talking about how they felt, or Brooke felt that Esme really targeted Trina just because, well, mainly because Trina is Black. And she would be the most affected by having, a prison sentence over her head. So many emotions because there's just a lot that, as Black women, we feel, we understand, that we go through. And she really touched on that. I mean, she really made me feel everything that I've probably felt my whole life. And even, Vernee talking about how Trina, like her worry that she sheltered Trina too much. I kind of had that feeling where I felt like, oh, maybe I was sheltered, or I was, not made aware of things in enough time to keep me safe. All of those things, all of those worries. And then Vernee saying, well, yeah, Trina's definitely very much aware of things in her life. It's just all of that whole conversation brought me to tears, brought me to awareness, brought me to, oh my God, GH is finally talking about this. All of these feelings came up, and I was just so appreciative of the whole conversation. And it was great. It was greatly acted as well. So, they definitely get my top performances this week. My honorable mentions are to Ava and to Laura Wright, because they had me cheering for different reasons. Ava, just, being that go-to person down to do whatever to get Trina off, but also talking smack to Esme and doing it well. Carly, yeah, she's, going through a hard time, and, she left that hotel with her head held high. As petty and as wrong as she was still left at hotel with her head held high. And Nina was just like, what the fuck? What do I have to do to bring this woman down? Because there's apparently nothing, and it was great. And Sunny, trailing after her, wondering if she's okay. And Nina's just like, I feel the third person in this relationship, and it's offending her, and I loved it. So shout out to Laura Wright and Maura West, just being awesome ladies as usual. But yeah, her and Bernie Watson, kudos.
Yeah. So I mean, so good. And I know we wanted to take a chunk of time to specifically talk about them touching on race, and so I think that we can like transition from your performances to that. One of the things I really appreciated was that it was from her point of view. Like it was from the point of view of a mother. Because I think that there's like one thing to like have everyone else around town like wondering, but it's another thing for like the mother, Trina's mother, to name it. because it's not about like assigning or saying this is like the thing for sure. It's like about this is what I feel, this is what I've experienced, and this is what I've seen. And Brooke like just put her all into the performance, and it showed. And it also shows that no matter what people say, like GH does take that feedback. Like that, I'm sure the actors have pushed for this, and we certainly have like complained about it. Um, it was about what Esme did to put Trina into the system. And I thought that was really, really key. And it was a point that you made, Sandra, that I wanted you to like make again about Avery's performances with this.
Right. Yeah. I think that like there is something so important about making the implicit explicit when it comes to racial dynamics, and that GH has done a horrible job of historically. But I think one of the things that made this so powerful is that it also allows for us to look back at the performances and at the choices that the characters and also the actors have made around this story. Because there have been so many times when I have been like, this has got to be on purpose. Some of the things that Esme says, but also the way in which Avery performed Esme's like white femininity just felt like so intentionally triggering to make a point. And what I appreciate about this scene is that it validates that perspective of like what we were noticing. And without the scene, it's a very gaslighting dynamic. Like, is this intentional, or are you just doing this unconsciously? And so I think it bolsters everyone's performance connected to the storyline. And it also just makes me also want more of that. Like, what would it mean for Spencer and Trina to have an explicit conversation about the racial dynamics of their relationship? Right? They've talked a lot about Spencer's privilege, but I think on GH oftentimes, and this is true on daytime and media, like mainstream media in general, they'll use class as a way to talk about racial differences.
Right.
Well, how do you do that when Trina, I mean, yes, obviously Spencer is in class-wise, in a very, is like a billionaire, royal, whatever. But Trina also is not poor, right? Trina is like the daughter of a very well-respected doctor. They live in Jax's McMansion. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just appreciate how, GH leans into controversy, right? Like, we've been talking about a lot of moments when they've actually like doubled down on things or made things really, they've made choices that are very provoking to the audience. But this is a moment where they actually like took a risk for a good reason. Like, this was doing something like having a conversation like this between Portia and Stella was a risk, but it's a risk that's a degenerative risk. It's a risk that invites more story. It's a risk that enhances the characters. It's a risk that could actually change relationship dynamics. And so, of course, they're going to get pushback from people who are like, don't make this political. But what does that mean when you say, just talking about describing the experiences of people who are normally not centered? If that's political, then let's get political. Because like, when you say don't make it political, what you mean is don't talk about the experiences of people who are not white, who are not straight, who are not cisgender. But we actually know that those are stories that people love on the show. People loved Cassandra's storyline with Terry and Chet, for example. like these are stories that are valuable that make this show better. So let's actually center them. And if centering them is political, then let's do it.
There's also this question of why is it political? Because I like put up this thread just when I saw like a little bit of the pushback, and I actually am going to write to the network and like, because I think that they're going to hear the other side of it. And so for me, it was like, it's this push and pull of like, it's still not enough, but I also need them to feel encouraged because I don't want like the people who are detractors to like be louder.
Mm-hmm.
But like, don't make it political. Stuff is political all the time. When we talked about the sex tape storyline, we understood why there was a difference between Cam and Jocelyn's fallout. They talk about class all the time. They talk about like political issues. They had a whole episode on suffrage. So it's not about whether or not it's political. And it's not about whether like people are fine with it being political. Laura just did a recall. So it is really don't talk, like it is very explicitly like do not talk about race because I don't feel comfortable talking about race. And so they say like, why would you bring race into the story? That's been an audience reaction. Race has always been there. Trina is not a white girl who just so happens to be Black. Trina is a Black girl. And I think audiences are now having a difficult time with that, like audiences tend to do. We've seen it in media across the board. I remember when the Hunger Games came out as a movie, and people were like mad that Rue was Black. Now, if you read the book, Rue was very clearly Black. Like that was just like not even she was Black, but it was like that they like allowed themselves to create this attachment to this child because her presence in the books was so like powerful and like all of those things. They couldn't imagine that she'd be Black. So the next step of that is that people have created these like attachments to Trina because Trina has been damn near perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about race for them though, because we haven't really talked about race with Trina. So it's like, I just like Trina. I don't see her color. I don't see anything. I see myself in Trina. And it like makes people feel good that they've like liked a Black character without having to like anything Black about her.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've never actually had to hear or see them struggle through anything. And those things have been very difficult as like a viewer to like watch be left on the table. And so the conversation with Portia and Stella was really important because it like brought into focus everything. It brought into focus like who Trina's friends are. It brought into focus what her experiences were. It brought into focus like why it is different for her to face the system. We have seen Cam face the system and he's been fine. Like when Cameron held a gun on the police commissioner, we weren't going through a trial to see if he was gonna get locked up. He was fine.
He was talked down.
He was talked down. And so I think that for me as a viewer, like it is especially triggering and hard to watch Trina go through this because we see guilty people in Port Charles all the time. So it's like people face trial in Port Charles and you're like, okay, you might not have did that, but your ass is guilty, you know, in all these other ways. And with Trina, it's like really seeing an innocent Black girl who has done everything right. And not only right, but gone above and beyond to advocate for herself. Now having her life in limbo as a result of this white girl who was like, you know, jealous of her. And so it's not that we are saying that Esme is like marching through the streets with like Klan wear on. I'm not saying she's a daughter of the Confederacy, even though I don't know what she does on the weekend. She might be. Like, I don't know what she does off screen. But we are saying that she made decisions that played upon racial stereotypes when, and I'll let you get in here, Talia. I'm mad now, but it's like shit like calling Trina angry when Trina has been the most level-headed person in the group. And actually the angry person is Joss. Actually the person who is like, you know, hot-headed and can't control themselves and like and I say all of this with love because I used to be that person. Like, I love Joss the character, but all of the things that are attributed to Trina by Esme are actually Joss. And so why is it that they've been attributed to Trina? Because she knows about the stereotypes. And so I just feel like that all is like important context too.
Yeah, and I think, and I don't like to go to the point where Sandra's saying some of these things seems like it's on purpose. I am still triggered by how how Esme and Marcus Coloma, I'm gonna say it's Marcus Coloma because I can't believe Nicholas Cassadine would say shit like that, would refer to Trina and her family. I am triggered when Marcus Coloma called Portia a horrible woman. Because there's nothing about Portia that's horrible. She has done nothing to him personally or to his family for him to call her horrible. And so it made like, why? Why would you do that? Why would you think that Trina is somebody that could be just, thrown away by your actions and her family disrespected just because? That to me triggers a lot of racial tension, not just class, but racial, feelings. And so when we're saying, okay, it's not enough, I think for me, would love to see a storyline where Ava and maybe even Laura, I guess Laura's going out of town, so that's not gonna happen. But Ava just like really like, why do you talk about her in this way to Nicholas? Why do you not understand how important what Esme is doing is and how traumatizing it is and how destructive it is to Trina? Like his indifference, like it doesn't matter. Would love to see that kind of conversation happen because Ava has been the champion and loving Trina as a daughter ever since, no matter what, no question asked, nothing. And here Nicholas is just like, if Esme, there's no evidence pointing to Esme. There's there's nothing to prove that Esme is automatically right. Not just because, I don't think it's just because it's Spencer's girlfriend. I think he's just presumed her innocence, which is what society does with white women, presume their innocence, no matter what. So it's, some of that stuff, I don't know if the writers are intentionally writing like that, or they're just kind of putting to words, into action, what some of these writers actually think and feel. But it's hard for me to hear when people say, don't make this political. This isn't just political, it's life. This is everyday action. And what's political is her using her power to subjugate somebody else. Manipulating the law. That's political. The DA automatically just going, the ADA, Molly, going to focus her intention to make sure that Trina is found guilty. That's political.
Yep.
Revenge porn is political. They said that they were using this to leverage a political moment.
Right. Trina being handcuffed, even though politely by Dante, and taken to jail off of circumstantial evidence. That's political.
Yes. Robert allowing them to move forward prosecuting this case is political.
When the mayor, Laura,
is political.
Right.
Yeah.
This show is political. People need to get over their hang up about having this show reflecting what actual life is.
And daytime always has been.
Right.
And in some ways more than primetime at a different time.
Mm-hmm. Only when they're talking about race do they not like it.
Right.
Race
for the gays. Race for the gays. They're like, we'll have everything but that. Thank you.
Something that you said that really stuck with me is especially around like Margulis and like what they've done with his portrayal. Like, this is someone who has said Trina is a good influence on Spencer. You actually know Trina. You've actually like depended on her for Spencer. You've depended on her for Ava. And then that is why I thought he was like trying to play Esme. Like for up until the ick sex, I was like, there has to be something more here because he doesn't believe this. Like he has a plan. He's like playing her. He's trying to get more information. I actually didn't believe because it continues to not make sense that you would believe Esme over Trina. Esme, who has like torched your wife's car, has like been a horrible influence on your son, versus someone who has only done right, and you would believe that she would do something heinous. Because let's be clear, which like filming Joss and Cam having sex and posting it and then lying to say it wasn't you is heinous. And there's nothing in Trina's like background that would make anyone think she would do that. So what is it that would make you think that she would do that? Marcellus?
I mean, it's a hell of a drug. It doesn't make it. When shit doesn't make sense, that's kind of what I assume.
Yeah.
Because like with the Ava piece, I thought was really interesting the Ava and Esme scene when Evan, because it was happening parallel to the scene with Portia and Stella, is that I'm getting everyone confused. Esme asked, why would you risk everything for an employee? And it was just like one of those like moments where I was like, oh, the subtext of this line is, why are you a race traitor?
Someone who works for you.
Right.
It was clear. And that's like the wild thing. People are like, I'm saying like people on these internet streets are out here fighting for their like lives to defend Esme against the racism allegations. It's like, she's just evil. Is that the defense? People are fighting for their lives to be like, why? It's not about race. Okay.
We really need to fight for that representation of the anti-racist evil people.
Right.
It's so hard for me to understand how a white evil person could possibly be racist. Now they're evil, but racist.
Sure, evil.
That's taking it too far.
That's too far. That's over the line. It's over the line.
That's the worst thing you could call someone.
It is to them.
Like somebody who is straight up collaborating with a serial killer, but calling them like saying, and she didn't even call her racist. And that's the other thing about the dialogue that I thought was really interesting. She commented on her targeting Trina because she was Black, and like and being savvy enough to know that the system would fuck Trina over because she was a Black girl. And people were like, no, she could never. She's collaborating with a serial killer. She's like she's been manipulating Spencer since boarding school. Why would you think that like she wouldn't manipulate a racist system to her advantage? Why? I just need to understand. Actually, don't reach out to me. I don't want you to tell me. But I need to understand how you are fighting for your lives. I'm talking about people are taking a stand. You would think their rights are being taken away. People are furious that somebody brought up race. People cannot believe.
The thing is, Tracy, is that you understand better than they do. They actually have no idea why. You understand why.
Yeah. I mean, like social media is like different. Like I think that people realize, I saw a little bit of a rumbling on Twitter, but you get your ass jumped on Twitter for that. It was like real fake. It was like mostly like Facebook stuff, and a little bit of Instagram stuff about people feeling that way. I will say I was telling Sandra, I felt kind of better because I had posted, so Brooke had posted up like just like how the feedback was like really beautiful. And like, you know, she was like crying about it and she couldn't believe that she got the script and she's so glad people like responded well to it. And so like I took a screenshot and I posted it in a Facebook group. And I was like, somebody was like, I don't see the race part. And I was like, just very like, here's what I've seen and like a little bit of things that we talked about. And the person was like, you know what? Like, I'm a 60-year-old white woman and you've actually like made me see like your point in this. And I was like, wow, one down, a million to go. Go tell other white people, go sing it on the mountain, lady.
And how you can thank me is please go talk to the other whites about this so I don't have to.
Get your friends, get your cousins.
This is also why stories that are explicitly, if not political, right, are just being explicit about dynamics are really important.
Mm-hmm.
Because people do talk about their stories with people, with their families, with their friends. And that is also why the responsibility is important. Like, we understand actually the world through story. We even will make up stories about things in our lives so that they'll make sense to us. So yes, there, you know, there are stories and they seem frivolous, and that's actually what paints our whole worldview. So,
right. And for the people who are like complaining about this being their escapism, like, imagine how tired we are. Like, imagine me tuning in to see my favorite young Black girl character get railroaded by the criminal justice system when like that's the work that I do to fight against that shit. Like, I don't like it either.
Or how traumatizing it is to see that happen. Yep. See her being drugged and being accused of not being able to handle whatever liquor and being angry and emotional. That's not escapism for us. That's life, and it's super triggering, but it's okay for you to watch as entertainment.
And how much of that necessarily wouldn't have just gone away, but could have been mitigated or used for good in some way if this conversation had actually happened much sooner in the storyline. Happened immediately. And so I do want to, of course, like you were saying, Tracy, like give positive reinforcement and let this be a lesson for some other storylines that you have going on where there is audience feedback saying this is bad, this is racist, this is misogynistic, this is homophobic, you know, listen and incorporate, like leverage the amazing free feedback you get every day and treat it for the gift that it is actually as creatives.
Yeah. I mean, there's like no other medium aside from soaps that gets such like frequent feedback. You know, like if you watch Stranger Things, which I just finished, like that season is over. So like maybe you can like incorporate feedback into the next season, but you can't really do anything about what's already passed. With GH, they actually like are their filming schedule even like less than like I think days is like 6 months ahead, like whatever. GH is not that far ahead, so they can absolutely mine the timeline and like incorporate like really good feedback into stories. And no other medium has that sort of like feedback mechanism, because so many other stories, so many other mediums are already filmed by the time we get to react to them.
What they're really not ready for is this hot take that I have. Even when you have a story that's all white people, race is still present in the story. Because white people, you have a race. You are white. And that carries with it cultural norms, history, sometimes sometimes cultural norms that are very strange, and I'm like, how fascinating, right? But and it's the same thing with like, a story can have all straight people, and you're still telling a story about sexuality. Because there are norms and all these things associated with straightness. Y'all just think that's just normal story because you're used to being centered. But there's actually a whole world of people with different experiences than you that don't experience the world the way that you do. And that's also part of the reason why stories featuring people of color, queer people, people of all kinds of identities and walks of life are so interesting and important, because it disrupts that dominant narrative and everyone benefits from it. So don't cherry pick when you're going to benefit from it or not, because you love Trina. And even if you didn't know it, a lot of the reasons why Trina is so great is because she is Black.
I wish I had the more you know thing that would have across the screen. And that's that on that.
That was beautiful.
What a mic drop.
That was tea.
As I am literally tea.
What a mic drop. You know what? Let us move to what is working on the show this week.
Well, Sante. like I know we say it every time Sante is on, but nobody's doing it like Sante. And I always turn to Tracy and I say, Tracy, nobody's doing it like Sante.
Nobody's doing it like them.
I really like no other couple that is like, actually, I will just say no other couple. So there aren't a lot of couples on the show, actually. Make me feel the way that Sante does, where I'm like genuinely like, I get a smile on my face, and I sometimes I even like blush a little bit. Like I'm just like, y'all. I think part of it is I'm just not used to seeing romance on GH, so I'm like, oh my goodness, I feel funny. What is this sensations I'm feeling? Those sensations are I'm witnessing two people who are like in love, and also they really want to get with each other. They're like clamoring to get to that bedroom, and so much. I'm glad that the writers are also like sprinkling that in, even while weighing them down with babysitting duty, and like understanding that that is something about them that works. And that happens because Kelly and Dom sell the hell out of it. And so I can never give them enough props. They're doing a phenomenal job, and please, for the love of God, give them a story. Carly losing everything is working. And in fact, it's like the only thing that has worked about the Carson breakup. From Nixon Falls all the way to here. And I mean, Tracy, you and Tanya both have spoken on it beautifully. And so I just like double tap everything you said about it making her more rootable. And it's what an exciting time for the character to reinvent herself. And I can really feel the stakes of, Carly's been running the Metro Court for a long ass time, and it has a lot of emotional ties to Courtney, to like all these other paths that Carly has taken. And it just feels like such an opportunity to take her character on a journey that's much needed. And so I even though this is not the Carly Sunny of it all, like that segment of the show is not my thing. I find myself drawn into this Carly storyline, and I appreciate the ways in which even though some of it's dumb, right? Like, I'm just like, just take the money from all the rich people in your life. Like that kind of stuff is a little annoying. I do appreciate that she is really owning, like, I did this to myself. Mm-hmm. And like some other characters could stand to do a little bit more of that, but I'm not talking about that right now. And then I just also, the Ava and Esme rivalry is such a good example of the trope in soaps between like the rivalry between the older and the younger woman. They just do it so well. And I loved. I have to shout out the exchange when Avery said, or when Esme said, "Oh, I respect what's yours, Ava. In fact, I respect it so much. When I use your things, you wouldn't even know after I was done with them." Like that kind of stuff, that's juicy. And so that kind of, because it's like their rivalry isn't actually about Nicholas, it's about Ryan. But Ava doesn't know it yet, and I think that's what makes it interesting, rather it being about explicitly being about like a love triangle. It's something much darker, more twisted, and also just like more multi-layered, and that's what I want to see from my rivalries between women.
Yeah, agreed. I agree on Sante, won't go much deeper, but just to say that like Sam looks amazing lately. Really like love seeing her on screen. As you know, everybody knows I love Samantha, so excited to see her do her thing. Get them off of babysitting duty. I never need to see Dante's worst friend again. As a matter of fact, y'all can kill him tomorrow and we could be done with it and nobody would care. I don't even think Leo would care. Who cares? Get him out of here. I would also say that like not storylines, but like focusing in on a couple of storylines worked. So like when we had like the thread of like Trina's trial not being like so interspersed with all these other things, like GH always has too much going on and they try to fit too many things in. And so to be able to talk about Trina's trial from a bunch of different perspectives made sense. So you had Curtis and Hat Daddy doing one thing, you had Ava and Esme like crossing for one way, you had the things that were happening at the house where it was like Joss and Trina, and then Portia and I keep wanting to use their real names. Portia and Aunt Stella, like all of that worked because they were going towards a common goal. And I think that we really missed that on GH a lot because everything is all over the place, but having a focal point where everything converges has really worked for them. And that's, I think, why this past week has felt better than other weeks. So that's what's working for me. What about you, Tanya?
Yeah, I agree that the fact that Trina's story is finally picking up is working for me. I don't like that it's happening in the middle of summer versus when it could have happened in sweeps, but I like that. I mean, because their choice of sweeps was just like blah. And this would have been so much more exciting and thrilling for me. But I do like.
Isn't July a sweeps month though?
It is.
Is it? I don't know.
It is, but it's like sweeps light.
Yeah.
Lesser sweeps because it's the summer.
Right. So I do appreciate that. What's oddly enough working for me is this new aspect to Sunny and Nina, where Sunny is calling her out on her bullshit. Because beforehand, it was all like, his attitude was like, Nina did nothing wrong, or why are everyone attacking Nina? Why is blah, blah, blah. But Sunny noticing the choices that she's making and questioning it and questioning her intentions and sincerity has made it more interesting to me. Even though he's still choosing to be with her, he still kind of he's like, she seems to be focusing too much on Carly right now, or why is she buying the hotel, and what is your motive? And so I think it almost seems to me like him saying, I want to be with you, just to get her focus off of Carly. But say, okay, I'm gonna give you what you want. You want to be with me. Now leave Carly alone. It's an interesting thought. But in any case, I like that, he's, calling her out. Now she's still stubbornly thinking that she's doing stuff for altruistic reasons. And I'm just like, girl, stop. But I'm loving that Olivia is like, no, not having it. We're not trying to be partners. I'm not quite sure how she's going to stop that from happening, but I love the attitude. I just love it. So that's really working for me. Again, like I said before, the Valentine and Victor dynamic is working for me. I'm really curious how he's going to pull himself out of that situation. And I'm hoping that he'll let Anna in, because they will be a formidable team against Victor. But I'm curious and loving that story. So, and I will transition us into what's not working, because we're just ready to talk about it. And it's still the same thing for me. Cody is not working. He needs to go. Like, seriously. Again, like, I don't understand why Spinelli is even entertaining this man. First of all, he should be focusing on Trina. But why is he letting Damien, why is he letting Cody blackmail him? I really do not understand why. And I think Cody was saying, like, if people knew how you made these matchups, it would be, horrible. I'm like, I don't think people care how he's making these matchups. I mean, if it's a match, it's a match. So what is the reason behind all this? And why is Spinelli letting this man blackmail him and keeping him on the canvas?
Is this going to be like a data security storyline? Where'd you buy this data from, Spinelli?
Don't get political.
Who are you selling this data to?
Google?
ICE? Collaborating with ICE?
Like Laura to deport Victor.
Let's bring that immigration analysis in, okay? Remember
Fusion centers. Oh yes, I do.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's just not working. It's not.
Tell you what, let's get back to what's important. It's just not working.
It's
It's not working.
It's bad.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. So not working for me. A couple things. There is just like this. They're like going from plot point A to plot point B, and they don't care what's in the middle. And it's really destroying characters. It's destroying history. It doesn't make sense. And it annoys me. So that is not working for me. And then don't drag me, y'all. The writing for new Sprina is not working for me. Now, let me qualify. Spencer Castellan is my child. I love him. It's not about that. It is, I think, the same point about like this plot, point A to B, that doesn't consider anything that makes sense. So it does not, like, I am really clear that Sprina is the story. Like, I'm really clear about that. But I'm also clear that Sprina can't be Trina's only story. Like, we actually, in real world terms, we actually don't know if Nicholas is going to stay past his contract. We know Tabiana's contract is like beyond his because she started later. And so she needs to be a viable character, whether he is there or not. And having her like not save herself with like everything that she knows from her point of view does not work. And it's because they did not give us Sprina moments that like made sense for that. I think that we've all talked about like what we would have preferred for like this interim. Like I was like, I would love like a Sage Alcazar moment where they like where Cam, Josh, Trina, and Spencer all locked that bitch up in the freezer and was like, you're not getting out until you like confess, right? Or we would have liked a moment where like Trina and Spencer work together and like in secret, because we do know Josh has a big mouth and like, you know, whatever. That's not what we got. What we got is what we got. And I don't know where like bad writing ends and like the blame ends for bad writing and then the blame begins for like bad characterization. But there's just no way for me that Trina shouldn't have told on Spencer. Like we're talking about her future. We're talking about whether or not she'll go to jail. And so to like have her sitting and saying, oh, well, this could be big for Spencer when he has like abandoned you, not believed you, disrespected your best friend. We as an audience know a lot, which is what allows us to forgive Spencer. Trina as a character knows nothing, which makes it ridiculous that she hasn't like told on him to save herself. And so we could have avoided some of that if they would have allowed Sprina to like have moments. We actually haven't experienced like the tenderness from them. We haven't experienced like there's been moments because Tabiana and Nicholas are that good that they give us those moments. But if they weren't that good, we would just have animosity. And I don't think any of us got into Sprina over animosity. We got into it because of devotion. We got into it because of like sweetness and tenderness and lovingness. And it's the only thing that made it work when we knew Spencer had a girlfriend most of the time. Like, if we really think about the bulk of how we've known Sprina, it's been when Spencer was with Esme. We had like a little bit of like foundation for them where it was like cute and like a meet cute in the park, and then we thought they were gonna kiss on the parapet, and then all of a sudden we were like, who the hell is Esme? And then after that, we've had mostly Esme in like a relation, like in the relationship with them. But because these two characters and these actors were so good, they were able to carry a storyline that made us invest in them, even though Spencer had a girlfriend. And I think that for me, as like as a Black woman watching it, that's why I was always like, we need to get like a day player in here, because I never really liked that fifth wheel situation that they tried to do with Trina. And I specifically didn't like when Cam tried to play her like he didn't also like her back in the day. And so I was like, what I was seeing, and I know this is not what GH meant to do because this is never what they mean to do. What I was seeing was that here we got these two white boys who have been very into her, like basically push her to the side for like their white girlfriends. And we know historically white boys have liked Black girls. That's never like, come on, like we know that. But we also know historically they will push us to the side for whiteness. And like not acknowledging that as like a reality has like really been difficult for me to watch. And so again, like I said, I'm really clear Sprina is the story, but it can't continue to be told this way because they're not making the connections that make sense. And like there's like the Sprina fandom who I talk to who I'm like, okay, y'all are right. You ground me. We're back. But that's because we look at every touch, every interview, every Nicolas Chavez hint, every, you know, Tabiana like Instagram story where she's like making a joke about the Cassadines, but like casual viewers aren't looking at that. And so in order to like make this like make this pairing viable, continue to be viable, and to like continue to have Trina be the character that we know and love, we actually need them to step it up with the writing for Sprina. Yeah. And so that's just how I feel about it. Please don't drag me.
Well, if anyone's dragging you, they're gonna have to drag me too. I 100% agree. My thing that's not working actually is like double tap everything y'all said. The romance on this show is not romancing.
It is not romancing.
It is not romancing. Like, so I was preparing the preview for next week, and there sure were a lot of romances, alleged romances present, and we'll run through them when we get to that part. And I was like, wow, there's a lot of couples here, or like potential couples that they're trying to build, and they're all awful.
No, not
They're
all.
not good. Even the ones that I care about and I love are not being written well. Like, of course, we all know who I don't like. I've really come around on Chalin, but I have not been feeling the romance from Chase. Like, they've gone left field with him, and I need for him to come back to the Chase that we know and love.
Bring it back.
Like, why is this happening? Why do I like Brooklyn more than I like Chase? That shouldn't be happening, because that's not normally how I feel. I've actually never liked Brooklyn, like, historically, until now. Like, I'm talking about all the Brooklyns. And then, I love Vanna, and there are reasons why, like, of course, James's schedule and all that. I'm not getting enough of it for it to feel like I'm really have something to sink my teeth into. And the constraints are what they are. It wouldn't matter as much if everything else wasn't so trash. And Sprina is a really great example of like a couple who I feel still remain very invested in. Even as in my multi-shipper phase, which actually is not a phase. I will forever be a Trina multi-shipper. Rowena has lost me. And that partially is the writing. It's not compelling. We don't know anything about Rory. And there hasn't been enough build besides that he's a cop and he makes brownies from a brownie mix. Which, lots of people do. No shame. I know, but whatevs.
He likes Betty Crocker. Whatever.
Which is like, it's neutral for me. Whatever. Again, it's like they're going through the motions of a story. And with Sprina, I actually do like the antagonism between them, but it's the balance of the antagonism and the emotional connection.
Right.
And it's been way, way out of balance. And I don't mind when things are conflicted, but you need to do things that actually make me feel conflicted. Right. It's like everything on paper about this story should have me saying, hell no, never. I am Portia, right? Like, who the hell is the Spencer Cassadine kid? Get him the hell away from Trina. And it's okay to have like some of that, right? Like, it's okay for me to not be sure one moment or the another, or to be like, damn, there's some points there. It's another thing for like the actors to be out here fighting for their characters' lives and really like relying on their charisma to pull through. Imagine what this story could be if you gave Tabiana and Nicholas like the real material to work with. So stop holding back on them. And then of course there's all the other couples and how atrocious. And I will say, I thought it was really funny telling you that you were like, I like how bad Sona is. You're like, that's working for me. I loved how delighted, for those of you who are listening and not watching, Tracy's face then and now, glowing. But I was watching their interactions and I was like, do people like this? Are personas pleased with this?
The soda.
I don't imagine that they are pleased with it, but I am enjoying
I have
it.
no way of knowing.
I just imagine Cynthia picking up that script and be like, this is what you want me to do? Please, what have I done to you? What did Cynthia do to y'all to make her act out these scenes? It's not fair. I'm looking out for you, Cynthia. What's happening here?
It wasn't fair. It wasn't fair, and I will say, I was just like, what's going on here? Like, why are they treating her this way? And I'm like, are they setting her up to actually be crazy? Because this is the note I have before we get into hot takes. I need to find exactly where my note was for them. Nina sounds fucking crazy, and Sunny sounds like a goddamn dummy. That is my note. That was what I wrote. Like, because it didn't make any sense. And I'm like, are they bringing her towards crazy? We do know that she has it in her as a character. And we also know Cynthia plays that very well.
Oh. Yeah.
It was just nothing connected. Even when she was like talking to Olivia with that like energy, she's like, Olivia. And then she did like that little walk toward like, I was like, Olivia don't fuck with you. Like, why would you think she did?
Why would you think Olivia would come at you with any other energy besides what she's coming at you with? Because what you need to know about Olivia is that she's consistent. When she don't fuck with you, she does not fuck with you. And like, why should she? Nina is so triggering because there have been so many times, like it just brings up any time some usually white woman has been like wronged you in some way, they quote unquote feel guilty about it, and then just overwhelm you with like no strings, very strings attached peace offerings and like apologies that you do not want. I know that we have all experienced this at one time or another. And so like watching it, I'm just like, if this were me, this is like restraining order land. Like I would be like, you are scaring me. You are scaring me. Why did you buy my hotel? Why did you try to give it to me? And then now my partner wants to buy you out after I said, I do not want it from you. And you're saying, no, I won't sell it to anyone.
For Wiley.
For Wiley, who is also my grandchild. You are scaring me. I am scared.
The thing is that I kind of feel like Valentine kind of said, okay, well, you can make things better. And she tried and then got pissed and decided to double down on being, you know, a bitch to everybody. I mean, it's just like, and you said sometimes white women, for me, it's always white women that do that shit. Always. 100%. She is like the queen of Karening right now. And now
so
she's going to
out Karen Carly.
And now she's going to be a manager for real. So it's going to be it's going to be funny.
I would like to speak to myself.
It was unhinged. It didn't make any, but that's like the thing about point A to point B. And that's like the thing I think that is hard about a character like Nina. Because I like rivalries. I love a bitch. I love Nell. Like, I actually, not as much as Sandra loved Nell, but I loved Nell. So it's not, it's not that I don't want like Carly to have an adversary. What I'm saying is that Nina is not an adversary. Nina's insane. And like, it just doesn't, I can't imagine. Let me back up. If Nina was just allowed to be unhinged, if Nina just said, I did what I did, fuck you, I said what I said, like, you did this thing, like, the energy she has for Carly is like, she thinks that Carly killed Nell. So yeah, you should have energy for her. So if that was the thing, you were like, Carly made like a bad business decision, so I'm gonna take her husband, I'm gonna take her hotel, and I'm gonna do both of them better. Like, I would, if she said like that line, I'd be like, maybe I like Nina now. Like, if they allow her to lean into that, it's the problem of like trying to make her balanced, but writing her imbalanced. Of like trying to make her like not a monster, but like writing stupid shit. So her being like, I don't want Wiley to think I'm like the person who tore his family apart. Let's not tearing his family apart, Nina. You did that. Like you did that. You're like mad. You're like, well, I'm like the third wheel in this relationship. Yes, you were the mistress, and now you've moved up. He will have another mistress because it is Sunny.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is just how it goes. You can't, and then it's like, which one is it? You're constantly telling everybody around town, like, you know, Sunny wanted to stay with Carly, and if she wouldn't have done whatever, they would be together. But now you think he's committed to you? You just said the only reason he's not with his wife is because she don't want him.
Carly wanted the divorce.
She wanted the divorce. So which one is it? That's like what I'm saying with the writing of like just point A to point B, plot point A to plot point B with nothing in between, and it like just hurts everyone. And like they just use Brasha as like Sona propping. Everything that's happened to Brasha has been to prop Sona. Everything. When they really could benefit from like building out that middle adult section. So like Brasha should be supported by Chalene and Milo, not by Sona. Like, actually bring in, because again, I'm like a little bit of a Michael apologist, obviously. Not as I don't hate Michael as much as everybody else hates Michael, is what I'm saying. And I actually really did. I went back and I was telling Sandra this. I went back because I was like, I think I just like blacked it out. I was like, did Scott actually like go after Michael that bad on the stand? So I watched it yesterday. I was like, oh shit, I guess he kind of did. But like they missed an opportunity to make Michael more likable or like to remind you of Michael's past. So when Scott was like, why, you know, you only spent like whatever amount of time in prison, Michael could have been like, yeah, I was assaulted and I got out. Like that reminds you and regrounds you into who Michael is and why like you might have ever found him compelling or like sympathetic. But they couldn't do it because then what do Sunny look like hugging Nina after that? Like they just keep doing these things. They have to do them. So for people like us who know the history of the show, we're like, this is like the full gamut of what you're doing, but y'all don't want to talk about it. And so, yeah, anyway, sorry. That was just like, I think the song is really dope, obviously. Like,
you don't like it? Dope. You don't like it?
I mean, I like it now.
Yeah. It's perfect now. It's like I could see more scenes of that over and over.
Of Nina just getting embarrassed.
Nina getting embarrassed, Sunny calling her out on her bullshit. Just all of it.
And then Sunny looking like an idiot when he calls her out on her bullshit, but then is like, I'm actually more committed to you than ever.
Right.
Cause that was it for me. He started to be like, now what? And I was like, oh, is Sunny actually gonna be reasonable?
Yeah. And then he's like,
I don't want to have to like say Sunny's being reasonable. And then thankfully he saved me. Cause then he sounded like a total fucking idiot. And I was like, oh, whoo. Wouldn't want to have to compliment Sunny. Thank God.
Don't worry about that. He won't let you do that. I also just loved the juxtapose, and I don't know why they're so petty right now. The juxtapose of Carly like walking out with her head held high with like swelling music and her new man behind her. Meanwhile, like Nina was just like standing there looking stupid while Sunny like looked on. I was like, who hates Nina? I mean, besides me, the person who writes. I just feel like, is it like they are having like a writing like tug of war? Like sometimes some of the writers like Nina, sometimes they don't, or something.
Well, you guys pointed it out, right? So the last 2 episodes were women. I'm thinking those women do not like Sona, and it's the men writers that like Sona.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's an interesting theory.
I think that theory is the truth. It is not a theory. It is it's got to be objective truth.
I think that we've already like entered a little bit of this territory, but let's get into some free for all hot takes. Do y'all have any?
Yeah, I have a couple of interesting ones.
Tell us.
Ooh.
We had new Michael for one day, and I felt his like when he stopped Carly from talking. He was just like, "Stop! You're deflecting." I was like, why did that seem so much more believable from new Michael than it did from Chad? Because it's like she's just stopped talking. And he was like, "Stop it." And I was like, see, that was believable. That was good. That was great. So sorry, Chad, but it just felt that much more believable from Robert.
I like how you called him new Michael. Like
that was Michael, new Michael. God. Well, you know what? I will say this. Katie has chemistry with new Michael. Okay. It's Stevie. I was like, oh, okay, I see Milo. I understand Milo now. I really liked, I don't know who it was who suggested to bring him back as Morgan. And I was like, yeah, and they've already done wife swaps between Morgan and Michael anyway. So bring him back as Morgan. Give him the Willow. It's already, they can be Milo Part 2.0. They don't even have to change the name.
It'd be Malo.
Malo. Morgan.
I had Brando bonding with Dex, but still doesn't like him. And I felt like Johnny Wactor's side-eye game was so strong at the end.
So strong.
It was so strong. I was like,
Johnny Wactor gotta be like, what
please. I feel like I feel like he must got a little something in him because he's just like,
how do I keep getting stuck carrying everyone on my back all the time? Right. Where's Sophia? That's Johnny's energy all the time. Where's Sophia? I can't do this anymore.
I had a little Sprina thing. I said Marina is cute, like a cute young person first love. But I felt like if it was Spencer kissing Trina, I had a little wild moment. I had an imagination of him picking her up and her wrapping her legs around him and just kissing the life out of her.
That's true.
I imagined that. If it was like something that he should have imagined before he ran away. Like Spencer.
Like a bait and switch.
This is a premonition. I hope this is a premonition, Tanya.
Yeah, I hope so.
I think that Rowena has, I think that Tab has chemistry with everybody. I think that Rory is like not fleshed out, and I'm not really interested in like them fully fleshing out a cop. I'm whatever. But I do think that Tabiana and Nicholas have like a more like fiery chemistry, and so I agree with you that like their kiss might start sweet, but I think that it would have been a little bit more spark to it.
A little spicy.
A little spicy.
I kind of felt like Nicholas Chavez was playing a little bit of his height to his advantage a lot in his interactions with Rory. Like stepping up real close to him and looking down his nose at him all the time.
Very
I think it's gonna be hella romantic when he gets with Tabby. I see a lot of picking up in.
He's gonna have to.
Well, yeah.
Like logistically, I don't know how else it's gonna work. So
it's gonna be hot.
You know what? Nicholas Chavez, he's working out, okay?
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna be able to
He's up to the task.
as much as he needs to.
Getting ready.
Whenever they give Nicholas Chavez Sprina, he will be up to the task.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's like, I've been preparing for this. It feels like my entire life.
Right.
This is the role I was born to play.
It's not often that I'm jealous of women that are shorter than me, because I'm like 5'8", so I'm pretty tall. But girl, Tabiana, I'm mad jealous right now. But anyway, let me stop lusting after this young man.
Please stop lusting after my child.
Like, oh my God. Not my child.
I don't know how you guys think of him as a child, because he's not. But he is young. So let me
What said, that's no child of mine, so I'm gonna say whatever I want.
Right. But anywho.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey Dante, don't get jealous. But anyway.
There's listen, Tanya has plenty of love to give.
Abundantly. It's in my name. It's there for everyone.
That's right, it is. Okay, I'm not trying to be funny, but I'm gonna be funny.
I'm sure it'll be funny.
When that one dude walked up, Dex? Yes. When Dex walked up in the scene where they were all at the pool and he kind of like walks up on the side, I literally was like, who is that? Who is that?
I was like, is this an extra?
I was like, is this like a waiter or like
why
and then I saw his face and I was like, oh, that's one of those ones that I never know who they are. And then finally when he started talking, I was like, oh, that's Dex? Dex? I can never remember whether he's like actually Dex or like
one of the Dexes.
One of the Dexes. It's and you know, the acting is not acting for Dex. It just keeps getting worse. So
Damn.
I'm gloves. I know, Tracy, you're always like, we don't come for the actors. I do come for the actors and their acting. Because that's their job. Is to be actors, is to act. And that was not acting. You know, I'm not putting on airs just because I've been taking an acting class. I've always been this kind of an asshole. But no, it's hard to see like these mediocre white men take up space on this show when there's so many other people who could be featured. And like it's like they're taking up space, but they don't even have real story. There's no real characterization happening. They're not even moving along story for other characters. And on top of that, you're not particularly talented. Like, why are you here? I think that's a fair question to ask. I think it's fair for me to say, I like actors who can act.
Can I give a couple hot takes, or did you?
That was it. That was all.
I appreciate it. Let me see where to start. I never need to see Valentina and Nina in a scene together again. Never. I don't need it. Keep it. No. Stop it. Abort. Done. We're out of here.
Yeah.
This Brit story is awful. I know that you're gonna get into it in the previews, but I am just not interested in seeing Dante's sports friend scam this dying woman. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Who thought this was good?
And when she agreed to the date, I did a double take. I was like, surely this is not how this, I mean, obviously I knew that this is where they were going, but I was like, oh, so she's just agreeing to go on a date with him, and that's how this is happening.
I thought that maybe it would be like a bet, something. I just like couldn't imagine that she would just like freely and willingly go somewhere with some dude who smells like horse.
Like, you're not even going to give us like a poorly constructed scenario to make this happen. You're just getting straight to the, okay, got it.
Cool. Or not cool. Strike Carly's name from Nina's dialogue and she wouldn't have anything to talk about. It's giving fangirl.
Stalker fangirl.
Cue Mariah Carey's Obsessed.
Yep, it is. I don't want to get flagged, so I'm not going to sing it, but just please know that it's going in my head. Why are you so obsessed with me?
What?
Nina dressed like a fake ass Eminem in the video. I would live for it. Actually, I wish I had the talent. I would make that edit myself. Shout out to like the people who actually do like make very amazing edits. I'm talking about Lemon on Twitter. I'm talking about Princess L, who made like I like cried at Princess's last edit. It was did you see it, Tanya? I'll send it to you. It was like using an Earth, Wind, and Fire song like over Vernie talking or Stella talking about Trina. It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah, people really, the Sprina fandom is fandoming. Okay, talent is talenting, and I wish my petty had that kind of talent because I would definitely make that video.
But you have the vision, so you know someone else can execute it.
Mm-hmm. I'm interested to see what version of Trina the prosecutors pull out to malign her character. Because from the time that Sydney took over the role until now, Trina's been pretty fucking perfect. So I'm wondering, are they gonna reach back to like off-screen behavior before like when Trina was like the person who had like the condoms in her bag for Josh when we knew her? Or like if it's just gonna be straight up lies, like what is gonna happen? Because Diane has said it and Portia has said it, so we know they're gonna come for Trina's character. I'm not looking forward to that, and I'm wondering what the hell they're gonna say. The Trina's been pretty damn perfect. Like I can't think of anything.
No. The wildest thing that she's really done, besides be friends with Spencer, honestly, was the plan to, you know, unmask Spencer and Esme. But that was,
and mind you, she did
delayed.
all of that, knowing that Spencer might get in trouble to save the Neva marriage, but she won't turn in Spencer to save herself. Okay. Great writing. Great writing.
Romantic?
Why the hell does Marcellus think that Laura would override Kevin for Esme? So basically, like, Esme went to Marcellus and was like, you know, I want my internship back at Spring Ridge because Kevin did whatever. So Marcellus found out he didn't have any pull at Spring Ridge. So he was talking to her and he's like, well, maybe I have some pull at the hospital board. And then we see it and we see that the pull he thinks he has is with Laura. You think that Laura is going to do some shit for Esme that Kevin took away from her?
And that Laura doesn't already know what he did.
And that Laura would want anyone to see Ryan?
Right. And that Laura already has been talking to Marcellus about Esme like coming between him and Ava. if the writers hate anyone, it's gotta be Margulis. My God. Nobody looks stupider than him, and that's saying something on this show.
Maybe him and Nina can get together.
Oh, what's the ship name for that again?
Nicholas.
Just stupid. I don't know. Go in there and come up with.
I can't. I'll think about it.
Dumb and Dumber.
I'll think about it. Drew was talking to Carly about lots of ups and downs. Like his down wasn't being held prisoner. Like what? Like what are we? Please, what is going on with this man?
He doesn't know.
He doesn't know. And when he was talking about Carly hiring him at the Metro Court, I was like, "Oh, that wasn't you. Don't you worry about that."
No.
Like that was. Let's
you.
not get carried away. Let's not try to pull back into like the past of who Drew was for Cameron Matheson. You're Drew Matheson. I'm on board. You know, I'm a cruise shipper. Let's not do this. Unnecessary. Nina talking about the Metro Court and said one day all this will be his. Talking about Wiley. Nina, this is a hotel, and this is not the Lion King. What the fuck are you talking about?
Wiley has so much coming to him in his life.
Come on.
This little hotel is not going to be it.
Wouldn't it have gone to him anyway? If
right.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, throw in the extra dig, Nina. You could have been like, well, because I can't trust that Carly won't make another stupid ass business decision and be able to pass it down to Wiley. Doesn't make sense, but I would have enjoyed it.
Also, isn't like Olivia, also Wiley's family who lives with him? Well, what do I know?
Right. There's no way that Curtis shouldn't have known there was another way off of the island because he lived there with Hayden. What kind of dumbass PI are you?
That's why
I'm still a little concerned that Esme knows about the tunnels. But yeah.
And they know it because Valentine took them to take Charlotte and Curtis was there.
Everyone knows about the fucking tunnels. You know anything about Windermere? It's the tunnels. Please. It's where the magic happens.
And then I will finally say I had some more Sona slander, but I've slandered enough. When you're down so bad, why do I need to slander? We can save it. I know that people really liked the scenes between Sunny and Spencer, but for me, it was just so glaring about Sunny's lack of support for Spencer. And it really, I just think about, this is also Sona thing, but I think about him standing beside Nina in court to fuck over his family when he wouldn't even get Spencer a lawyer or support him. We never saw Sunny go to Spring Ridge to visit him. None of that. It is glaring considering the relationship they had when they were younger, and I actually don't need to hear Sunny giving Spencer any advice. You've actually been a not shit uncle since you've returned from Nixon Falls. You remember when you were lied to about your identity? I am not interested. I thought that Nicholas Chavez did really amazing in the scene. And he could have had an amazing scene with somebody else. I don't care about him and Sunny. I just really don't. And the only thing I want to hear from Sunny is an apology for being a bad uncle. And until that, I really don't need them together, to be honest.
My energy for the entire scene was just that. It was, I don't need you to say anything to my child. Thank you. He's good. He's not. He's struggling, but he doesn't need you.
He doesn't need you because you're also struggling.
Yeah, you're not. He has been dragged down far enough. I don't need you getting involved. Thanks. We've got it covered.
With the teeth after.
I make tea for Sunday shift more often.
There we go. That is my last hot take. Sandra, do you have any, or are we transitioning into previews for the week ahead?
I think we are transitioning into previews. The takes, they were hot, and now they are complete. So, preview for next week. I talked a little bit about this earlier, but there are some couples, and they have stories, and most of them are bad, and we're going to start with those. First we have, I'm trying out some different like titles, so I'm open to feedback. So I'm calling this Sona Sinking on Monday. On Monday, as he spars with Dante at the gym, Sonny admits he got into it with Nina about Carly. And Nina has yet another anticipated encounter at the cemetery. I hope it's Carly. Friday, so thankfully, going to Friday without any more explicit Sona spoilers, but they do like to hijack every storyline available, so don't count them out for the rest of the week. But on Friday, Sonny works over Felty until someone unexpected appears. Felty is the paparazzo.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I wish my friend would come back. Yeah.
I know. Hopefully soon. So yeah, Sonny works over Felty until someone appears. So, it's a Sonny spoiler, and it's also Brasha's spoiler, who will be featured in what I'm calling Brasha's Trauma in the Afternoon. On Monday, in the steam room with TJ, Brando isn't able to relax away his worry about Sasha. And on Tuesday, Nina and Brando continue to worry about Sasha. Imagine that. Oh, what I will say, I didn't have this in the hot takes. This is a hot take. You know what I don't want to watch? What I don't find to be romantic? Storylines that feature husbands committing their wives against their will.
We just have too many people committed.
It's too much. It would be one thing if none of the rest of the shit was happening, but it's just yet another tick in the misogyny belt. So, which leads us to nothing says romance like conning a dying woman. On Tuesday, Britt admits to Brad that she's going on a date. Shameful. After working out with Michael, Dante notes Cody has not heeded his warning. Surprise. Maybe you're starting to regret taking him this horse friend, Dante. Wednesday, Cody tries to get inside info about Britt. Thursday, Britt calls out Cody about his true intentions. Josh Kelly was interviewed in Soap Opera Digest. I didn't read it too closely because I love myself and I value my time and energy. What I did pick up from it was that the big secret of why Cody is interested in Britt is that he thinks she has money.
Can I read what he actually said?
That's it.
In Soap Opera Digest. He said she's kind of a renegade and she's edgy and he really does like her. Plus, it's not lost on Cody that she's in a better financial position or financial situation than he is. Yes, the chief of staff at a fucking hospital is in a better financial situation than your bum ass. Anyway, he is very hard up for cash, the actor says, and her father is Cesar Faison. I think Cody thinks there might be some kind of hidden fortune there.
Riveting.
So they totally dropped the Selena Wu blackmail. And now Cody is only interested in her because she may have money. See, what made that story interesting is now not interesting anymore. Because I thought she had murdered somebody, buried the body, and wants to keep it secret. I don't know.
Cody would be related to that in some way.
Yeah.
That's why they brought up Faison.
I mean,
Frank, text us. We have some plot points we want to remind you of that you can pass it on to Chris and Dan. Chris and Dan, you cannot text me. I don't want to text you.
We will only take text from Frank.
Only from Frank.
And the women
intermediaries.
And then the women writers.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
We're also going to be telling Frank to fire you. So yes, they're definitely not going in an interesting direction with this, or if they are, they have not told Josh Kelly, or if they have, he doesn't remember. Any of those things are completely within the realm of possibility. Next, we have Willow's inevitably tragic pregnancy storyline. There's just no way this is going to go anywhere good, but here we go anyway. Tuesday, TJ tells Willow there are more questions that need to be answered. We know from Soap Opera Digest that her white blood cell count is elevated. So, cancer baby.
She needs that Nina bone marrow.
There you go. On Friday, Carly, Michael, Willow, and Drew's celebratory moment gets interrupted. I'm assuming by Willow passing out again.
Or
TJ,
Nina.
huh?
Or Nina.
Nina coming in, being mean to Willow, and then she passes out. That's how you really drive home the storyline.
Yeah.
And then TJ and Molly share a close moment until they see there is a patient brought into GH. I'm assuming that is Willow. But also, TJ, why are you snuggling up with Molly in the middle of this trial?
Girl, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, TJ, you need to be going off on Molly for prosecuting your cousin / not cousin.
Can somebody go off on Robert Scorpio? I'm over it. Sorry, please continue.
Okay. This next one, I couldn't think of like a really like Pythie title for this, so I just called it "Please Put Us Out of Our Moston Misery and Give Us Spixie for the Love of God." On Wednesday, Maxie accuses Spinelli of stalking her. So cute. As Austin receives a disconcerting text. Thursday, Spinelli makes a confession to Maxie. I'm sure it's not going to be anything particularly interesting or will move the plot along, but for the love of God, please.
I think it's going to be like the Brit thing.
Yeah, probably. And then Austin meets with a mysterious man.
They brought another man in.
And then we have Hat Daddy and Dr. Johnson. On Wednesday, Marshall encourages Epiphany to let loose. I am appreciating Marshall more. I'm still not on. I'm definitely not a Hat Daddy Dr. Johnson shipper.
No.
He's gonna have to do more.
I imagine he has some shoes to fill because she was with
Milo.
And Milo was a pseudo stripper type security guard. So
you have to do more than what's cracking, baby, is what I'm saying.
We should start there.
It was a great start. but let's keep it moving. There's like a little sprinkling of the couples I do care about. So in the Eddie Main Jr. storyline, Mac hosts an open night at the Haunted Star. I'm not really sure why Mac is hosting an open mic night and why it's at the Haunted Star, but sure, why not? I'll always like to see Mac in a storyline that isn't about him being a cop. And then Chase reconsiders going through with Brooklyn's plan. That better not include insulting her anymore, please. Thank you, Chase. The way I show love to men is expecting accountability from them. I expect better from you, Chase. I expect better. And then on Friday, we have our microdose of Vanna. Valentine makes a romantic gesture, but Anna tells him she can't deal with his dishonesty anymore. And finally, the most important storyline, free Trina.
Free Trina.
On Monday, Spencer enacts his plan to help Trina as her family and friends gather to support her at trial. Tuesday, Trina worries about her case as Jocelyn and others are called to the stand to testify. Jocelyn. Meanwhile, the gloves come off between Spencer and Esme. Finally, Thursday, Esme pleads with the bartender in an attempt to save herself. And as Marshall comforts Portia about Trina's case, Curtis makes a deal to help. And Friday, Spencer approaches Ava and Nicholas about something important. That's the week.
I do want to say this about Joss. I forgot to put it in my hot takes because I know that there was like a lot of conversation about Joss like not respecting Trina's wishes and like all that. I hear you, and I'm still team keep my girl out of jail. And so I mean, I think that Jocelyn is like imperfect. And I think that she loves Trina, and that lets me forgive some of her like imperfections, a lot of her imperfections. And so there was like this conversation about whether or not like she like should tell like Spencer's alibi and all of that. And I think that the other thing that's to remember is that Jocelyn is like the victim in the situation as well. And so it's not like a situation that she's disconnected from. And so she's putting herself, Cam is putting himself on the line for their bestie, like as they should. But that's still like bringing even more media scrutiny to them, because they are like going and like saying this person who's been accused is not doing it. And so if they are doing that, like the expectation is the person would also be doing everything they could for themselves. And so all of that to say, I'm actually not mad at Joss for like being frustrated about Trina not telling on Spencer.
I agree.
I when she said, listen, if it looks bad, I'm throwing him under the bus. And I actually don't care if you never speak to me again, because I am not watching you go to prison. You know, I've been one of the folks who have been very critical about Joss when she overrides Trina's wishes. And I think this is where nuance comes into play. Like when it was about, you know, like the romantic feelings between Spencer and her and Esme and all of that, like that felt like I was like, you're overstepping, that's none of your business. This is actually like not any of your concern, versus like Trina could go to prison for years. And like Jocelyn's actually willing to sacrifice her relationship with Trina for Trina's freedom. That's actually like not, it's actually a more effective version of what Spencer's doing, right? Like we're cheering on Spencer because he's willing to sacrifice his relationship with Trina for her freedom. And he's actually could sacrifice himself for Trina's freedom. Actually, he's had the opportunity to do that from the moment she was arrested.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I'm interested to see, because I think that Joss's point was a big one that's going to come back into play. Because I've also seen like the rumblings of like Joss is going to be so salty when she finds out what Spencer did, and I'm like, Joss is going to be like, this is typical. That like this is what you did, that you like, because it's not just like freeing Trina, it's all of the stress that goes up into this trial. It's that her reputation is being dragged through the mud from the moment that she was arrested to now. And that's like some privileged shit that Spencer wouldn't understand. And like maybe not even like what's being written for the show, but I think the people, those of us who talk about it a lot, like understand that it's a difference between people like thinking the worst of you for however many months versus like nipping something in the bud as it happens. And so I just yeah, I'm interested to see it again, like I don't know where bad writing stops and like where the accountability for characters starts. I mean, for me, it starts way further because Spencer's my child, but there is something there.
And like I love both characters. Like I love Spencer and I love Jocelyn. And my allegiance shifts based on like what kind of bullshit the other one's up to. Honestly.
Yeah. Right.
And like I think that's for me, that's a more interesting way to watch the show than having like a fixed allegiance to Spencer. I love, and it's the same thing actually said about Chase. It's like, this is all like the way that we relate to characters actually says a lot about the way that we relate to people in our lives. Like I said that before about story, like we understand our world through stories. And this is also like why we connect with certain characters and not others. And for me, how I hold men in my life with love is actually expecting accountability. And if I like care enough about you, it's because you've demonstrated that there's something to care about. And so I'm going to hold you to that level of accountability. And yes, sure, I include my daytime child in that as well.
For sure. I mean, Nicholas Chavez is the person who puts the nuance into Spencer. It's not written.
Mm-hmm.
And when it is written, it's written because he can do it.
Right. Yeah.
Unlike, some other people.
Parting shots. Do you have
Marcellus?
Tania's like, just in case you don't know who I was talking about.
Let's make it implicit, explicit.
I did say I liked that.
We have a commenter in Oakland City Council. Whenever she talks about somebody she doesn't like, she says their name wrong and really loud. And so I was picturing her when I said Marcellus, because that's how.
I love it. That is a very effective tactic.
So,
well, I will end by saying free Trina.
Free Trina. Now.
Free Trina.
Now.
I want her freedom now.
Immediately. Retroactively.
Yes.
Maybe if he figures out that his plan with Esme doesn't work, maybe that's what he's going to talk to Nicholas and Ava about.
I love how delighted he was at his DNA test results. He was delighted.
Like, yes,
Baby's first DNA related. Well, not his first, because his first was actually when he was a baby, but he wasn't the one doing it. This is his first person where he's fucking with the DNA. And
It's the Cassadine way.
It's
Very
such
proud.
such a special moment, you know.
All right. Y'all have a great week. Wait, have the week that you deserve.
Have the week that you deserve.
Yes.
See you next week.
Bye, y'all.